Mercurial Mercenaries. I thought I'd just check in with you. I thought we could do another Q&A, go back to the questions that you guys asked me. And I have this habit, right, where I can quite easily take one question and discuss it for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 4 hours. Would you want to watch a video of me talking about a subject for 10 hours? People go and see David Icke for similar. Maybe David Icke's got more important things to talk about than I have. He's got reptiles and a kind of holographic universe. Funny enough, he only really came up with that after the film The Matrix. Let's all base our world views on films, eh? That's right, as long as your favourite film isn't Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Let's be different. Let's just try and have 10 minutes in each other's company. You and me.
It was always you and me, always and forever.
Quick fire. We could do quick fire questions. Quick fire. Quick fire. Quick. Nick, who is your favourite band? Is it Tame Impala? Tame Impala are damn good. My favourite band of all time? So tricky, isn't it? Depends what day you ask somebody. You're asking me. Depends what day you ask. Depends what mood you're in. It depends basically what you're going through in your life at the time. But if I had to just name my favourite band of all time, the Beatles. The Beatles changed everything. The Beatles changed music. There's an argument that the Beatles came along at a time where it was possible to change everything. But that's irrelevant because the Beatles did change everything. It took John, Paul, George and Ringo. It took those guys. Those guys happened. Those guys did it. Next, Shrimpchi. This is a random question, but any tips on getting your life started and growing up? As a 20-year-old, I seem to not know what my path is in life. Thanks, have a nice day. This is supposed to be quick fire. How can I answer that? Quick fire. Shrimpchi. I wouldn't worry about it. I envied people when I was at school who knew what they wanted to do in life, who had a goal and they knew how to get it. And they were determined and they went for it. I envied them because I am somebody who never knew what his path was. I'll be honest with you, there was a time, a sort of misguided time in my teens where, I wanted to be a rock star. Sounds stupid now. I wanted to be a rock star and I truly believed I could be one. Famous. Star of the screen. But I never really knew, in terms of a normal life, I never knew what I wanted to do, and I still don't. So I would say, don't worry about not knowing what your path is in life. John Lennon said, life is what happens while you're making other plans. And yeah, you can pull these quotes out of the air. And when I read that one when I was a teenager, I thought, yeah. But with age comes a little bit of wisdom. And I now know exactly what John Lennon meant. Shrimpchi, do not worry about having a path in life. Life will happen. Life will be just fine. I haven't got a path. I never had a path. Life will be just fine. Next. That wasn't very quick fire. Next. Rob, is there anyone else really going through it in their lives that needs the scar certified to be Here Comes the Cowboy? Yeah. It was going to be Here Comes the Cowboy. It probably still will be Here Comes the Cowboy. I was let down. I intended to do Discover 75 on the release day and the album just didn't turn up. It went missing. It's missing. It's a kind of Bermuda Triangle thing, perhaps a little bit of Titanic, but for whatever reason, I haven't got it. When it comes to listening to music at the moment, I like to just listen, right? There was a time when I spent a lot of time reading music reviews. I used to love Kerrang and Metal Hammer and The NME, Melody Maker, Select, Q Magazine, all these kind of things. And I'd read them avidly. I'd read those sort of magazines more than I'd read books. And then the internet came along and to a certain extent I carried on doing that. Now I try not to read too many reviews. I don't tend to watch too many review videos like your needle drops and stuff. I don't tend to watch too much of that. I like to just experience music. What I did find was in the anticipation for Mac DeMarco and the fact that I haven't got the bloody thing in my hands yet, I did read a few reviews for it. Made that mistake. Don't like to have my opinion tainted by other people's views. And the general consensus at the moment seems to be that people are not liking Mac DeMarco's latest album. So, for once, because I usually go in completely blind when I listen to music, for once, when I finally get around to listening to Here Comes the Cowboy, I'm going to do it, listen to it, in the knowledge that most music reviewers out there didn't like it. So we'll see what I think, shall we? Does anyone value my opinion? Do you value my opinion? Who knows? But it probably will be Here Comes the Cowboy. Don't worry about it. Red Hot Chili Pepper Drum Kid. Yeah, but where's the review for Fishing for Fishies? When you live in the USA, King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard just do that. To you. They do that. They do that to me as well. But they do it to you. They don't like you. They don't like you. Screen Sneaker. What was the first album that really just took your breath away, like made you realise that music is more than just a way to pass the time? Look, when I first devoured Iron Maiden's Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, that's when I realised how truly important to your life music can be. And I do appreciate, and this comes with age as well, realising this, but music does strike you harder in your teens for some reason. But when it comes to your specific question about the first album that really took my breath away, it was Grace by Jeff Buckley. That was the album that I listened to in a darkened room and just thought, I was a musician myself, and I heard that album and I just thought I should give up, because this album is hitting me hard. It made me cry. It made me want to give up. Tears of joy, tears of laughter, tears of sadness, tears of salty water. Next. If a bear and a shark got into a fight, who would win? Oh, do you know what? In the video, the 3-hour video where I answered every single question, I spent ages discussing this one. And what it came down to was, legalise Greenleaf, I need to know what type of bear and what type of shark. Because the scenario I ended up with in my 3-hour deleted video was, we had a koala bear and a great white shark. And the koala bear was kind of already drowning as the shark just came and... So it really depends on the circumstance, doesn't it? Bloody hell, rapid fire! Rapid fire! Rapid fire. Log v Logs. What is your favourite album and video game of all time? Favourite album, Jeff Buckley, Grace. Video game of all time. I'm partial to Final Fantasy VII, Command and Conquer Red Alert, Target Renegade on Spectrum. I like that Fight Night boxing series. Liked Rage Racer. The original Wipeout was cool. Bubble Bobble. Tetris is up there. Yar's Revenge. If I had to pick one right now, Pac-Man. Abe Peg. Hey, I'm a big fan. You seem to have great taste in music. And really good takes and interesting and opinions insight. My very specific question is this. What are your top 5 albums that you would recommend to the younger generation that showcase the tasteful sonic palette of the 1970s? Thank you, Abe Peg. How old do you think I am? 1970s. If I just had to name 5 albums I think you should listen to from the 70s right now, off the top of my head, I think you should listen to Led Zeppelin 4, Jean-Michel Jarre, Oxygen, Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here, Alice Cooper, Love It to Death, The Sex Pistols, never mind the bollocks, here's the Sex Pistols. Josh Simpson. Is 21 realistically too late to start playing an instrument with the potential of actually getting pretty decent at it? Yes. Yes is the short answer. The longer answer is yes, because you take more in the younger you start learning. It's like kids who can speak multiple languages. It's not because they started at my age. It's because they started when they were like 2. Put a guitar in a kid's hand, they'll pick it up. By the time you get to 21, it's a slog, isn't it? Guitar's such a difficult instrument when you're starting out. However, if you apply yourself properly, you can do anything. I wouldn't want to put you off, but you're going to have to try a hell of a lot harder than a kid does to get good at the guitar starting at 21. Although, to be fair, you don't mention what instrument. A tin whistle? Tin whistle. Kaome. Would you ever do Mercurial Mercenaries merch? I don't know. People have suggested it in the past. Would anyone buy it? Would anyone buy it? What bands did you listen to as a kid? When I was a kid, I was at like school discos and that. I loved the likes of Ghostbusters, Michael Jackson's Thriller. I suppose pop music, really. Pop music until I heard White Snake's Give Me All Your Love Tonight. And I thought, ooh, I could have a little bit of this. And then I heard Seventh Son of a Seventh Son by Iron Maiden. And that made me the man I am today. What's your musical history? School, bands, college? Various bands. Various phases. Phases of bands. I can talk about them more another time, but various phases. I think long-term musicians have phases in their life. Ben Brinton asks, are there any albums that you have outright refused to review on your Discover series? No. Also, are there any particular genres which you are unable to get into? No, not really. Even some of the music that I might criticise as an outsider, I'm sure if I watch some of these YouTube videos of this new kind of music, whatever's going on at the moment, I'm sure I'd quite like it. I can't think of an album that I've listened to where I've just detested it recently. I wish I could get more into classical music. I like the obvious classical music, your Beethovens and your Mozarts. But when I'm watching University Challenge, they'll always have a music round on there, and I'm always thinking, yes, please be metal, and it never is. It's, you're going to hear a piece of classical music, and you've got to tell us who it's by. I always shout, Shostakovich! Shostakovich! And because it comes in cycles, when I'm right, because occasionally the answer is Shostakovich, I just sound like a genius. Please name who wrote this piece of music. And I'm going, Shostakovich! No, you're wrong. It was Shostakovich. I'll be like, yes! Happens. Try it. You might like it. Domhnall Barber. Which is the best album in the history of music, in your opinion? This is easy to do quickfire when I'm saying the same answer for every question. Grace by Jeff Buckley. Kojakesh 99. How do you go about discovering new music? I feel like it's really difficult to leave your area of familiarity, if you know what I mean. I probably do. I know it's easy to be closed-minded, and I'm not saying that I've never done that. I remember listening to Metallica and Guns N' Roses and Megadeth and Iron Maiden, and hanging out with other people wearing black leather jackets and long hair and going to heavy metal clubs, and I remember those times, and I can't say that I spent those times wildly listening to elements of jazz and trying to get into the latest pop music, because I think it's finding like-minded people, like a gang, and feeling part of something. And I think when you're using music to be part of a tribe, to be part of a group, you're not going to want to stray from that, are you? I think, and it might come of age, but there's a time where you'll just step back and you'll wonder why you were so antagonistic about certain types of music or certain bands. And you'll end up just being able to appreciate the good in life. And that's what I try to do when I do my Discover. I mean, I've done 74 at the moment. And I have gone into every album open-minded, and rather than some of the critics out there, the music reviewers and the press, where they are listening to an album to dissect it, to pick it apart, to find its faults, which is quite easy to do, isn't it? In life, it's quite easy to have a chat with your mates and slag things off. That's easy. It's fun. It's fun to be negative, I think. It's really fun to be negative. But there's also something quite liberating about listening to music, going in with the idea of let's just enjoy this. Let's just enjoy this. You come out the other side and you end up saying something like, I've read lots of negative reviews about Fishing for Fishies, but I think it's one of, if not the best King Gizzard album. Do I care that loads and loads of reviews have said it's lazy and dull and boring? Most reviews, in fact. No. I think it's too easy. It's too easy sometimes to be presented with something, and it's easier to pull it to pieces than it is to see the bright side. It is. You get presented with a kind of 70s T-Rex boogie style album when you're in 2019. Too easy to say, it's lazy, it's not doing anything new. Much more difficult for those type of people to just sit back and say, you know what? I enjoyed it. People just open up. Just open up. Life's too short. Life's too short. Matthew Jordal says, when are you going to listen to Pimp a Butterfly? I've still got it in the cellophane wrapping. You know I have. Pain in the arse, isn't it? I really will get around to doing it sometime soon. Let's say I'm going to do it before... By the time we get to Discover episode 80, I'll have done Kendrick Lamar. Not sexually. Slevin says, who is your favourite contemporary music artist right now? Probably Mac DeMarco. I'm really enjoying his stuff. Nathan Feldhaus says, what is your favourite live performance? Don't know. Where do you start? If I had to just pick one right now, At the Drive-In played live on Jules Holland, and it was absolutely fantastic. Maybe I'll put a link down below if I can find it. If you're in a band and you want to know what I think a live performance is all about, then click on the link if I put it there. Worty Mum says, how much do you enjoy the process of creating and sharing content? I think I enjoy it greatly, because I often, when I'm doing this, I'm quite often thinking I'm wasting my time. Now, that's not to downplay you guys watching me, but there is a large part of this where I'm just thinking, what am I doing? I'm just talking to myself and putting videos out there. YouTube is a fad, and soon enough, like MySpace or whatever, soon enough it will be over. And I've said this before on videos, there'll come a time when I'll think, what was I doing between like 2015 and 2020? Oh my God, those were those years where I was recording myself talking and putting videos out there. You know, it will disappear, all of it, like tears in rain. So there is definitely an element of me thinking, perhaps knowing that I'm wasting my time doing this while life just drifts by. But I keep coming back for more. Please, sir, may I have another? Please, sir, may I have another? Please, sir, may I have another? Glutton for punishment. No, I obviously enjoy it, Worty Mum. I enjoy the creation, I enjoy the sharing. I like the fact that we've got back and forth on this channel. I think if YouTube ends up disabling comments, overall across the board. I think that will ruin channels like this one. Lucas asks, when are you going to do The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway? I'm going to have to do it, aren't I? And I do look forward to it. I do look forward to it. Oh, so we've got some things here on me. Expert Films asks, what was the first album I ever bought? The first album I ever bought. My first album I ever owned was Fragile by Yes. There's a story to that. Maybe we'll talk about it one day. The first album I ever bought was the Buster soundtrack by Phil Collins. Favourite band of all time, The Beatles. Favourite Max song, Without Me. Osen asks, Beatles or Kinks? Beatles. Zolka123 asks, what do you think about Dave Grohl or Foo Fighters? I think Dave Grohl he's one talented guy. I always liked him in Nirvana. I think he's up there as being maybe the greatest living drummer. He's absolutely fantastic. I watched him live when he was with them Crooked Vultures. He is just a phenomenon. To think that he's now in the Foo Fighters, which is, well, he is the Foo Fighters, which is the general public's favourite rock band. So when you ask about what the state of rock is today, really you've got to... The state of rock depends on what you think of the Foo Fighters. I bought their first single. I bought his first single back when he was playing all the instruments himself. And so I was on board early, but I've never been too big a fan. He did go live quite recently on Facebook, like a live stream on Facebook. Foo Fighters playing, I think it was like a little barn in Frome. And I watched that, and that blew me away. He's a force of nature. He's a right powerhouse. To think that he's the singer-guitar player of his band, where I'm saying he's one of the greatest drummers of all time. So what do I think of Dave Grohl? I think he's a bit of a phenomenon. Do I like his music? Yeah. Antonia Aguiar says, how do you find the time to listen to music? With great difficulty. I probably listen to less music now than I've ever listened to. It's a real shame. But life sort of does that, doesn't it? Benjamin Gizzy says, will you make more videos about majestic moments? I think the problem with that one was the copyright hits for it. It was a real pain in the arse. It's not the copyright claims, it's the copyright blocks. So if you do lots of little clips of your favourite moments, and one of those bands or one of those record companies decides to block it, the whole video's blocked. It's a real pain in the arse. I think there's a YouTube editing tool now that I can use, so perhaps we'll go back to that idea. And then if the video's blocked, I could edit out the person who blocked it. Not a bad idea. Maybe we'll go back to that one. Alex Purnell says, would you do any old school album reviews in the same format as Discover? Have done, no problem whatsoever. I've done Highway to Hell by AC/DC, Samson of a Samson, Iron Maiden. I've done Equinox by Jean-Michel Jarre. I've done a fair number of old albums already, so I have no problem at all doing that. I'm very well aware that this went well over 10 minutes. Let's finish with Michael Christie's question. What was the Discover that you have enjoyed doing the most and why? Let me think. Because in the 3-hour video that you never saw, I banged on and on about this one. I went through them all and I considered them all. What did I decide on in the end? I still think I was truly astonished by Misplaced Childhood by Mercurial. Really enjoyed doing that one. And I really enjoyed... Wait, it's coming to me. The Void's Virtue. Yeah, that one was really good. But actually, picking through them, there were some great Morbid Angel moments. There have been some great Tame Impala moments, some great King Giz. It would be hard to pick one out. But I'd say if you haven't watched any Discovers, go and watch The Void's Virtue. Quick fire my arse. Over and